If you are below 50K per month with your coaching business, then you shouldn't be worrying about fancy AI systems, hiring better video editors, or spamming more cold outreach. All you need to be focusing on is booking more calls. But most importantly, making sure that these prospects actually show up to these calls. That's why in this video, I'm going to run through the exact show rate system that you can implement and immediately see an extra 20 to 30% added to your show rate so that you can get the most out of every single booked call for your business and ultimately scale past your plateau. This video is going to be straight to the point and in depth, so please grab a pen and paper, get ready to take some notes, and let's get right into this. Alright, so here's the full system to immediately add an extra 28% to your show rate. It's stupidly simple. This is one of our client dashboards, as you can see. So our average order value is around $2,500. We had a 70.95% close rate and a 97.44% show rate. This is also a B2C offer, so it was a lot harder to get people to actually show up versus a B2B offer. And all we did was implement the system that I'm going to show you right now. We didn't have 10 different dialers or a huge sales team or anything like that. It's just a simple process that works time and time again that you can replicate and immediately see an increase in your show rate, right? So let's get right into it with the full show rate system. Now it's pretty simple, and this is specifically for call funnels, just to specify. Essentially, if your main way of acquisition is booking calls on your calendar and then closing through the sales calls, this is the exact system that you need to add an extra 28%, 30%, 20% for the cases to your show rate. And so this entire system boils down to these two different parts. There is the booking and application section for the actual call funnels and the pre-call sequence before the actual call to get people to show up, okay? And so starting with the booking and applications, there's usually two different ways people book calls nowadays, either with a type form to qualify leads or with a Calendly with the quiz questionnaire questions before actually booking a call. For more B2C biz op kind of niches, type form is always better. For more affluent, more sophisticated niches, Calendly is always better. Just because it's straight to the point, it's higher friction, so you're getting better quality prospects on your calendar. And so I'm gonna run through exactly how to structure each one so you get the best results possible. So starting with the type form. Now the whole rule of thumb with type forms in general is that you need to understand a concept called incremental progression, meaning that instead of the first question being like, what's your contact information, what's your budget, you need to incrementally progress difficulty wise. So you have to start with the most brain dead questions, the most easy questions to get people into the habit of answering questions for you. The goal is to get as much information as you can to get a qualified lead, but make it as frictionless as possible, because the number one cause of low show rates is people not booking calls in the first place. It is your job to make the booking process as easy and frictionless as possible while still obtaining enough information to qualify prospect and confirm the call. So I'm going to show you guys really quickly how I actually structure type forms. Now keep in mind, this is an example I made for the video. Obviously this is a lot more in depth than this usually, but just an example to show you guys how incremental progression works. So starting with the welcome page on the form, the two things you need to have is either scarcity with the limited spots available, or something that incentivizes somebody to finish the form, but also making sure that everything frames this booking as super easy, super simple to add as least friction as possible. So as we start, you see the first question is a yes or no question. It's not even multiple choice. It's really just two options. This is the lowest friction question you can possibly have. And it's also still valid because we're still qualifying a lead. And again, we're getting people into the habit of answering questions and actually pressing buttons instead of starting off with contact information or having them type up huge answers or whatever the case is. So are you serious about starting UGC? Yes. Are you the decision maker? So again, yes or no questions. We're ramping up the difficulty as we go. And then as we go, yes. Now the third question is a short answer question. So provide a brief overview of your content experience. This is again, just getting people into the habit, because people who have now answered already two questions already have a bit of buy-in when it comes to the form. They've already committed something, so they might as well continue at least to this point. And again, the whole goal is getting people into the habit of answering questions. So let's just type up whatever and continue. So why haven't you started UGC yet? We're trying to figure out their pain points and their bottlenecks of why they aren't starting yet, and asking them to please explain in depth is adding friction. So again, we're just ramping up the difficulty as we go. Then we're getting into the more difficult questions. So like on a scale of 1 to 10, how ready are you to invest in yourself? And then from this question, it moves on to a budget question. So this program requires a minimum of a 4-figure investment. How much do you have to invest into making money with UGC? Please be honest. And we have a disqualifier here. So if they have $1,000 or less, do not book. And then once they answer this question, they're then redirected to contact information. But that's kind of how we structure type forms to get the best results possible, to get people to actually book these calls. And then at the end of this, they submit it, and then it redirects to a Calendly page. So that's the type form. And now moving on to the Calendly. It's again similar to type form. It's really just the actual scheduling process of it. It does lack a partial submit feature, but it's better for a sophisticated or like higher affluence market. And it's just overall more straight to the point and direct. And so I'll show you guys exactly how I structured my Calendly page so you can get the best idea possible. First thing is when you actually get onto the landing page for the Calendly, add a description, just kind of break down what they're going to be getting on the call. Because again, at every single step of the funnel, we're not trying to just sell them on the offer just yet. The entire goal of this is to sell them on the call first to get them to actually show up. Now with Calendly, ideally you only let them book out 4 days in advance maximum. It really just depends on what kind of offer you're on. Like if you're on a super B2C, like AI dropshipping offer, then ideally like 2 to 3 days maximum you let them book out for. Because if you let somebody book out for like a month in advance, 9.9 times out of 10, they're not going to show up to the call. It's just too far ahead. They're going to forget about it. They're not going to have the same amount of buy-in that they had, because you got to understand, when people are booking a call, that is the point in their buyer's journey where they're the most bought in, they're the most interested. So you need to capitalize that on early as you can. And so we let them book 4 days in advance maximum. And if we click on one of these, let's just book a time. You can see the first questions are contact information. And so the first question, name, whatever the case is. Email, what's your Instagram handle? We ask for their Instagram handle so we can just reach out to them on Instagram, because that's where mainly most of our conversations are happening. We also ask them where they're booking in from so that we can get a better idea of what lead sources are actually bringing in the most leads. And then from there, we have questions about a brief overview of their business, niche, bottleneck, and goals. So instead of asking about budget, because people usually lie about their budget, we ask for monthly revenue. And typically people don't lie about the revenue as much. We also ask for target revenue realistically, so where they want to go. Finally, we ask about more bottlenecks and more pain points so we can bring them up on the sales call and actually help that during the setting process and the pre-call process. We then probe on if they're actually committed or not and how bought in they actually are. And then the final question is, by booking a call, you agree to show up at the scheduled time. This just ensures that they actually are serious about showing up, okay? And they schedule the event, and then they get redirected to the pre-call sequence. So I'll show that you guys later, but that's kind of the idea. Again, both of these sources are mainly just to qualify, redirect to different leads, and then eventually book them in for a sales call, okay? And that leads to the pre-call sequence. So whether they're booking in from the Typeform or the Calendly, they both get redirected to the same pre-call sequence. And what this does is basically gives them all the information that they would need before the call to make sure that they show up ready to buy, essentially. This means confirmation videos, pre-call videos, breakout videos, and so I'll show you guys exactly how that works. So I'll show you guys my pre-call page first, just to get you an example of it. So starting off, the first thing you see is a pattern interrupt. Basically, it's telling them that their call is not confirmed just yet, and that they need to complete these 3 steps before the call. So if the prospect is just like funnel hacking you and they're not actually serious about booking a call, they're not going to consume this page, they're not going to watch any of the videos, then we'll know to cancel that call because it's a waste of our time, right? But people who are serious about booking this call and actually showing up will watch all the videos because they're serious and they want their call confirmed, right? So the very first thing is the confirmation video, where essentially the first thing we do is reaffirm their decision, making sure that they're aware that, okay, you made a good decision by booking a call, because after people book calls, they have buyer's remorse. Immediately, they're wondering if they made the right decision. So you need to reaffirm them, be like, yes, you made the right decision for your business. Here's exactly what's going to happen. Here's what this page is about. And also on this video, we break down our entire offer and system, how it all works, and exactly how we get them the results that we get our clients, right? So what this does is that when you actually get on that call with your prospect, whether it's you or the closer, you guys don't have to run through this super long explanation of the offer, the system, and all of their questions are answered when it comes to how it actually works, how you actually get clients results, so that you don't have to waste time on these sales calls, and it really just becomes a matter of answering the questions and basically just onboarding them, collecting the payment. That's pretty much it, right? So the step 2 is super simple. Basically, Calendly made an update where it doesn't automatically add the booked call to the people's calendar. They have to go into their email, press add to calendar, and then press yes for it to actually show up on the Google Calendar. But to make sure that you tell them, okay, make sure you go here, add to calendar, press this yes, and then it'll show up on your calendar. And this is also just an important part of the process, because this tells us if they don't do this, then we're just going to cancel the call. It's a waste of time. They're not going to show up. If they do this, then they're bought in, they're listening, they watch the videos, and they're most likely going to show, right? And then finally, we have our breakout videos. So basically what this does is it pre-handles every objection, framed as like an FAQ, get your questions answered. And all this is that we're pre-handling common objections that we get. And the way to structure this is that you take the transcripts of your old sales calls and the ones that didn't close, you see what are the commonalities, what are the common objections that people always have, and then you pre-handle them on this page. It's important to treat these breakout videos as well as mini VSLs. So instead of just straight up answering the question, make sure you're still baking in client results, you're still baking in proof, and you're pre-handling these objections, but also pre-selling on the call, right? Because that's the biggest thing that we need for people to show up. And then finally at the end, we have a bonus section where they just get to watch more proof, get pre-sold on what you do, see all the results, and get FOMO. Now, pre-call pages alone have gotten our clients over 90% show rates. They're extremely essential. They're basically mandatory to have in every single funnel nowadays. It doesn't need to be crazy. It doesn't need to be over-engineered. As long as you follow this structure where you have a confirmation video, showing your offer, breaking down what this page is about, and incentivizing them to actually go through the videos. And then you have the breakout videos, you have to confirm the call. You're pretty good, right? Now, once you determine if they're qualified or not, if they didn't confirm the call, if they were unqualified on the form, we just either cancel the call or we downsell them, depending on if you have a low ticket offer as well. And if they are qualified, we confirm the call, right? Shown on the pre-call page, add the calendar, and then the yes. And then the first thing we do is they have the setter reach out. Now, the setter is going to be disguised as the creator and reaches out via WhatsApp, SMS, or Instagram, because the most important part is just getting that human interaction with somebody else. We're building rapport, we're asking questions, we're kind of building a relationship, and then we also send an evergreen pre-call video. Now, I can't show one of my clients' examples, but essentially, this is just a FaceTime selfie video on your phone from the creator, where it hypes up the call, asks the prospect if they have any questions before the call. This is also a chance to pre-handle any objections as well. And this frames the call as a game plan call, right? So it doesn't feel like a sales call, and people are more willing to show up, and they get to see the creator face to face. So yeah, sending that evergreen pre-call video, depending on the offer size, either the closer makes a video or the creator makes a video. So it really just depends. And on the back end, we have email automations being sent out. So a simple flow that we use for our system is the very first email is immediately after the new event is booked. They get pre-call resources reminder plus a confirmation. So basically just confirming that they booked the call with the invitation and then reminding them to check out the pre-call page, right? Now, 5 hours before the event starts, we send them free resources, and all these free resources are just client results and proof, unless they have a specified pain point and you have a YouTube resource or nurture sequence to actually help with that specific pain point, but usually that's just sent over through the DMs instead of the emails. And then 1 hour before the event starts, there's a final reminder. In this final reminder, we like to probe on what their motivation actually is to scale the business, why they're booking the call in the first place, what they want out of this, so that we can actually use that on the sales call and close. And then finally, when the event actually starts, they get a call as live email just to make sure that they actually show up. And there's also the similar thing running in the background on SMS. And that is the entire pre-call sequence. It's not anything crazy. This is what we implemented to get our clients 97% show rates. You really just need to simplify it and boil it down to, did you speak to this person? Did you build a real human rapport, and did they consume pre-call resources? That's pretty much it. So that's the entire show rate system that we use for our clients to get these 97% show rates. You start off with either Typeform or a Calendly as the booking application. Typeform, you have incremental progression, making sure it's extremely easy and frictionless, and then having a Calendly at the end. Calendly is a similar thing with the questionnaire questions and then getting them to book in. Then both those sources redirect to the pre-call page. The pre-call page reaffirms their decision with the first video, breaks down your offer and your process and how it actually works, gets them to confirm the call, and gives them breakout videos to pre-handle any objections. And then if they're qualified, you confirm the call, setter reaches out, builds rapport, and sends the evergreen pre-call video. And then there's also email and SMS running on the background. You really don't need to overcomplicate it. Just master the basics first and you'll be good, right? Now, finally, really briefly, I just want to run through what we actually do if they don't show up to the call. This isn't like the full in-depth system, but this just gives you an example and an idea of how it all works. So this is the exact no-show process and what to do if they apply but they don't show up. So if they don't show up, there's two things. There's automated and there's manual. On the automated end, we have a 7-day email sequence, and then it repeats for another 7 days, so overall for 14 days. And if they're still not rebooked or show up, they move into a long-term nurture sequence in the CRM. But essentially how it works is the first day is a value email. So in the email, you're obviously like, hey, saw you didn't show up. Like, this will help you, giving them more value. The second day is a CTA, giving them the call to action to book in again and speak with the team. Days 3 and 4 is testimonials and case studies, is more proof to really give them the idea that they're missing out and they're making a mistake by not booking on a call. And then day 5, I really like this one, is a cost of inaction. So by now, we like to probe on the idea that they're wasting time and they're spending more money in cost by not booking a call, by not solving their issues. And this is ripping for our clients. This works really well, just because we really like to visualize the idea that they are wasting a lot of money by not booking a call and speaking with us, right? Now, day 6 is pain points and value. So really, again, really probing on their pain points, because pain is the number one motivator in any sort of marketing, any sort of business. Pain is the number one reason people buy. And then finally, we have a day 7 final CTA. And then if that still doesn't get them to show up, it repeats for 14 days. Basically the exact same thing, just different resources internally. And again, if they don't book in or they don't re-show up, they get sent to the long-term nurture sequence in the CRM. Puts them on the email list, sends over free resources over time. That's pretty much it. Now, manually, what the setter has to do is for 7 days, the first 1 to 3 days, I should say, the setter reaches out, just like, hey, so you didn't show up. And we're basically just running them through kind of similar process. We're like sending value, giving them CTAs, testimonials, cost of inaction, all that stuff through the DMs and through text or SMS. Days 5 to 7, setter reaches out again, and if they don't show up, they get sent to the long-term nurture sequence, right? So that is the full system on getting these kind of results for your show rate. Again, it is really simple. It's nothing overcomplicated. If you can nail down the system and the fundamentals, you'll be having a high show rate. I can almost guarantee it. Eventually, you get to a point where you need a team of dollars and you need all the different stuff, but this is the basics. This is what you need to get people to show up, and it's the system behind these results again. And so that is the full show rate system. I hope you got some value from this. I try to keep this as short as possible. I might have yapped for a bit, but so yeah, if you want to add an extra 28% to your show rate, go ahead and implement this system and this no-show process. Or if you want me and the team to implement it done for you, go ahead down below, book in a free consultation. All the information you need is there. You can take the next steps to actually scaling your coaching business, all right? So I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.